Well, I want to welcome our PCT viewers back for another segment, and we're going to talk about infrastructure. And you're probably wondering, why is the mayor standing in front of SHI Stadium? Well, it's all about infrastructure. I have with me Mike McClelland from CME Engineering and our Director of Public Works, Gaspari. So for a number of years, we've had issues with sanitary sewers that we need to take care of. Now, most people, they don't care about the sanitary sewers. All they know is when they flush or run the sink or take a shower or run a dishwasher or the laundry, they don't care where it goes as long as it gets out of their house and out the way. They don't know where it ends up. All they know is they turn it on and it leaves their house. But here at Rutgers Stadium, we have a challenging issue. When you have a sellout stadium here, you have a mini season that's here at Piscataway. So the capacity is about 55,000 in this stadium. So typically, the big usage at Rutgers Stadium normally happens right before game times, because anybody who's been to a college football game, what happens? Most people want to go to the bathroom and then at halftime. So what that means to Piscataway Township is the wastewater goes someplace. And this is where Mike McClelland comes in. He's going to explain a little bit about the challenges that we have. And I know Mr. Gaspari, who's Director of Public, is going to talk about it. So Mike, you want to take it away?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. So what happens is that as the folks begin to use the facilities inside the stadium, we get what's called a peak discharge into the sewer downstream. And what's happened in the past is they've had issues with the downstream sewer being able to take it. So our proposed plan is to construct what's called an interceptor sewer, pick up the sewage as it comes past the stadium and direct it directly to the county's interceptor, which actually sits here in the park right in front of us here. So that's what the plan is. We need to put a pipe across River Road, down Sutphin, and ultimately into a meter chamber, which will discharge directly into the MCUA's interceptor.
Mr. Gaspari, do you have some comments there?
Well, as you said, when we do have these peak discharges, we get overflow. And what happens is, and it happened in the past, is some of the catch basins and I'm sorry, not catch basins, manholes start to overflow, and you can get effluent in the streets. So in the past, what we've done to avoid that, we've sent our crews during games to avoid that by sucking out the stuff as it's starting to overflow and taken to a different area. So that's costly, and we shouldn't have to be doing that. The system should work. And I think with this project, I think that'll remedy that problem, from here on.
Well, one of the things that I want to add in there is that when it does go, the university actually has three pumps. So for those people who have ever been inside the stadium, on the east side of the stadium, there's pumps at every every 400 or 500 feet. So it starts to pick up the wastewater from the east stands, then the north side, and then the west stands, where most people know the west stands park was like the home side. And then it pumps it out to our sanitary sewer system, and that's where we come in. Now, over the last couple months, there's been some public back and forth on Facebook. Why is the town going and acquiring a piece of property on River Road? The simple answer is we had to go in and condemn the property to acquire it in order to run the sanitary sewer in, which is for a public purpose. But more importantly, that's where the meter chamber is going to be, because you can't have a meter chamber in the park. And so that's why we go in. There's been much discussion out there in Facebook world about a house being taken. Well, the truth of the matter is, it was basically a rental property that was an illegal rooming house. But that's a whole nother issue that's being dealt with in the courts. The bottom line is, we as the township officials, since we are the purveyors of the sanitary sewer system here in this DEP mapping area, we're responsible for sewage in order to get it safely down to the Middlesex County Utilities Authority in Sayreville. And that's all three, basically, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Your company deals directly in a lot of these issues. That is the responsibility of communities when they're in charge of a sewer mapping area.
That's correct. You have to convey it to their system, and then ultimately they treat it for you.
And
Yes,
just to emphasize, Mayor, is we're not taking the property. We give them fair market value.
That is absolutely
So it's not like we just took it away from
well,
them.
instead of being an engineer, you should have been an attorney, Mr.
Yes.
Gaspari. But the thing is that this interceptor system that we're designing is not going to just pick up the stadium. It's all the future development that they're going to do surrounding here. So over the last several years, Rutgers University has been expanding their facilities, athletic facilities, and buildings, and you know, all that calculation adds up to go into the sanitary sewer system. And as Mr. Mike McClelland from CME Engineering had said previously, the last thing you do is you want to have raw sewage spilling out onto the streets, and patrons of the stadium having to walk through raw sewage. It's not a good optics. It's never a good optics, and it's a bad thing to happen. So if we can avoid it by having correcting measures out there, that's what government is supposed to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Gaspari?
Yes.
So
exactly.
that is what we're doing out here in front of SHI Stadium. I guess we're fortunate enough. This is 2 days, 48 hours after the large Hurricane Ida rainstorm. Had we been filming this a day ago, we've probably been filming it in a boat out here, because as you can see, most of the damage and debris that has come up on River Road, they were just getting ready to open up River Road, but we're dealing with a lot of damage around the town, and we're actually going to go around and film a little later. But infrastructure, the sanitary sewer systems, a lot of people don't realize, in big storms like this, it becomes, no matter how good of a sewer system you have, they do get taxed with overburden, because people have a tendency to discharge their sump pumps into the sanitary, which creates a capacity issue. And Mr. McClelland, you could probably talk about why that's never a good thing to discharge sump pumps.
So what happens is the lines are designed for waste, sanitary waste, not for storm drain. And unfortunately, a lot of folks all over the county, all over the state of New Jersey, do basically a similar thing. And basically that is to tie their floor drains and their sump pumps into the sanitary sewer, which is really discouraged. Some towns it's not even permitted by the ordinances. So, and those peaks then add into the treatment for the sewer. And that's why it becomes such a problem. So if you design your wastewater plant to handle 10 million gallons a day, and all of a sudden you're getting 20, and most of that's clear water, storm drain, it becomes a taxing thing for the wastewater plants and for your piping system. So it's discouraged, and as I said, in some towns, there's even an ordinance that says you're not supposed to do it.
See, then the Middlesex County MUA, the Utilities Authority down in Sayreville, they handle, I think that their area covers almost 1.5 million people, which is a lot.
Right. And people outside the county also.
That's correct. So that's why we always encourage, when we have to do infrastructure upgrades when underground, as Mr. Gaspari knows, a lot of it, unfortunately, has to do because the people have illegal tie-ups at their homes or businesses, which is not calculated in the capacity. And so that's unfortunately the drawbacks that municipal officials, county officials, state officials, and outside consulting engineering firms have to figure that out to provide a safe way for wastewater to be treated there, because the last thing people want to see is having that back up on their properties or in their homes or businesses, etc.
So and just to back up on that, it's also an economics issue, because every gallon that goes to the Middlesex County Utilities Authority, we pay for.
That's right.
So these are gallons that are not measured by us, because they don't go through their meters, so we don't charge for them. So what happens in that situation is, as we get an increased flow into the Utilities Authority, and the cost is up higher to us, we have to kind of up the cost to everybody else to make up for it, so that we're not at a loss. And that's why it becomes an economics issue. So that the infiltration and inflow of stormwater into our sanitary sewer system is a problem, and we'd like to remedy every drop that goes into the system.
That's right.
So
every gallon of clear water we could prevent going into the wastewater system is money that the taxpayers and ratepayers are going to
Right.
save. That's the bottom line. That's the easiest way to explain it.
Exactly.
Don't discharge clear water into the sanitary sewer
Right.
system, because ultimately at the end of the day, you're going to be paying higher rates. That's the bottom line. So,
Yep.
so I want to thank, unless you two gentlemen have anything to close out
No,
with,
we're good.
We're fine, Mayor.
we're going to go back to studio and talk about some other things that happened in the month of September and August. So we'll see you back in the studio.